Hey guys, following podcast, I sat down with Berry Nash. He is a coach and he specifically works with families and men's work, and he deals with breath work. Some really, really cool stuff he's doing. We sat down, we talked about all the good stuff. Remember to like and follow on YouTube and everywhere else. And I hope you enjoy this pod. It was awesome.
Hello and welcome to the Brainstorm podcast. And now, your host, Sonny Perlman.
We're live. Barry Nash. Very excited to sit down with you. I met you at Evergreen. And we had a fascinating conversation in aisle 2. And now I get to have you on the pod and talk about all the awesome things. So thank you for coming, for starters.
Thank you. I got stuck. I came 45 minutes delayed on that conversation.
Yeah.
But that happens often. You know, I always give a buffer time whenever I have an errand to do in public.
Well, if you're
extra time.
right, if you're from Muncie, like you don't go to Evergreen to fully shop. You go. It's like how you get your community. You get the schmooze with the people. I literally so many times I think if I just went, like I went to bingo, I'd be out of there in 30 seconds. Like you go to Evergreen, you spend some time by the gefilte fish and the sushi section. you get different things. So good conversations. So you're one of them. Okay, so there are a lot of things about you. We're going to unpack. Hopefully you'll talk about all the things you're doing. But I'm going to hit you right away with my first question I had with you because I'm fascinated by it, which is that you kind of had career change late in life.
Mm-hmm.
Not late in life. You're not that old.
Not that old.
I don't know how old you are, but you don't look that old.
But it feels like it's...
It feels like you're that old.
It feels like it's late in life.
Yes, you went from, shliach, the business world, to the helping world.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm interested, first of all, why and how? That's the two questions. Like, why did you choose to go these steps, and then when you chose to do it, that's a really hard thing to do. Like when I think if I had to change my career right now, I wouldn't even know. I would have no idea, and I'm assuming a lot of people do. I'm fascinated by people. I'll tell you, I went to graduate school with this woman who was a very successful lawyer who decided to switch over and become a social worker because she just hated money, I think. No, she just hated money. No, I'm kidding. But she was a wonderful, wonderful person. Her name is Sarah Avitzor. I'll give her a shout out if she ever listens. But I was completely awed by it. So anyway, here I am meeting you, and so tell me, why, and then how. How about that?
Okay, why?
So you got to give us a little history here.
So when I first, when I first started taking life seriously as a, this is OCD. Yeah, let's go. It's working?
Yeah. Did I press it? Okay. Yeah, when
I grew up as a, yeshiva bacher Lubavitcher, and I took life very seriously. I still feel like I take life very seriously. Too seriously sometimes, but I, went on the path that the Chabad, Bachram do, is we go on shlichus.
Right.
And I always enjoyed on Fridays, or if I was traveling somewhere, you'd always see me, helping another Jew get closer to Hashem, tefillin, keep in touch with them, teach them Torah, whatever it might have been. So there's always an aspect of me, bringing people into the world that I was living in, especially with Judaism being our way of life, but also understanding that many Jews are extremely ignorant and they need someone with love and with knowledge to bring them in. So me and my wife moved to Montana. We lived there for 5 years.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying that it's been it's weird that it's on my bucket list, but I did not know you went to Montana. I'm dying to spend some time in Montana.
Beautiful.
Is it as beautiful as I think it is?
One of the things they do deliberately is they make sure there's no direct flights from New York.
No way.
I'm just making that up. It's deliberate. Just not enough people, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult. Like people in Montana that they say we have to keep it a little unknown secret.
Yeah.
So this way it doesn't become packed.
Although I think there's a little bit of like a gold rush going on there in like northern Montana. There's like people.
Listen, the world is changing very, very quickly. I left
Yeah.
a few years before COVID, so I'm sure a lot has changed.
I thought you were joking because I know that like good neighborhoods in the suburbs, they always fight off like the subway coming to them, or because they don't want the riffraff. So I thought maybe Montana's like, we don't want the New Yorkers.
But it is an unknown secret.
Okay.
It's an unknown secret. It's difficult to fly there, so you needed 2 flights. So it's a plane. If anyone wanted to go for anything with it's very difficult to go. Just
Right.
It's if you had a private plane, it would take 4 hours. If you're going. It's a 10, 12-hour trip.
Right.
And it
How
was
long
really,
in
it was
Montana for?
just under 5 years.
Okay. Yeah.
It was really amazing. We started a community. We did tremendous work. And
Were you the first guys in Montana or not the first?
no,
guys?
Chaim Schulbrook moved there probably 8, 9 years before I did. He invited me to come to another city, 3 hours from him,
Oh, okay.
200 miles from him.
Like, we'll be neighbors.
Yeah, we were neighbors. I mean, the concept of neighbors had
In
definitely
Montana.
stretched. I mean, I had neighbors in Wyoming and Idaho, and so we had a couple of neighbors. We drove to them for Shabbos. It was a 6-hour drive. And this is our,
Right.
we're hanging out with our buddies.
Yeah, it could be
Mikvah,
bad,
I had to drive. My wife had to drive 3 hours to go to Mikvah, so we had, it was a 3-hour each way. It was, and at one point, I started realizing a lot of. I started spending time with people and realizing that my kids needed more of a social life. It was just their best day of the week was Sunday.
The brown bears was not enough for them.
The best, they say in Montana, they say there's forget the numbers. There's a million people, and what is it? 2 million cows and 4 million guns, So there's a lot of space. Not a lot of people.
I actually think there's
certainly
less than 1 million people there.
It may be
like
a little less.
800,000
Yeah,
or something.
maybe a little less. But my children's best day of the week was Sunday when 4 other kids came for Hebrew school. So on a cosmic Jewish level, it's a beautiful thing to bring children whose father's Christian, mother's Jewish, and would never know anything about Judaism and bring them in. For my kids, it was like they needed more,
Right,
and I couldn't see them going on online school in 2-3 years from then, and that being their social network.
Right.
So we made the very, very difficult choice to leave. Another shliach took us over, and when we left, it took me time to figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't figure it out, but I went to work for a company, a startup company, an ambulance company in New Jersey, with a friend of mine, Dov Brofman.
Nice.
And after 3 years, after I did I realized that there was an emptiness to just working in day out. And I love spending time with people. I wasn't spending time with people in the office, just doing business, errands, trying to grow the business from, 10 ambulances to 11 to 12, 13, 14, whatever it may have been. And I made the irresponsible decision to just leave. And it was a crazy decision too. I would never recommend anyone do it that way, but I did. And then...
And you're saying because it just wasn't fulfilling.
No, it wasn't.
And you're coming from being a shliach, which is like ridiculously fulfilling, but that was hard. And then this is not fulfilling at all. Like that's
right. The reason why I took the job is because I needed to make a living.
Right.
And I wasn't sure. I was trying to find another opportunity on shlichus, and it wasn't panning out. So I needed whatever. Now push comes to shove. I have to make a living. Let's go work. And the work that I went to do wasn't fulfilling, even though it was accomplishing and it was, fruitful. It wasn't filling my soul bucket.
Right.
And when I left, I didn't know where I would go, but when I left cold turkey, I didn't know where I would go from there. But I went to a little bit of teaching, a little bit of working with children, a little bit of different things until eventually I got the confidence. It was just inner confidence. It wasn't nothing changed outside of me to
Right.
just take the role of teaching parents how to be better parents, to give their kids a better and more wholesome, healthy life. And that, now I'm involved in several areas of well-being and people's emotional and mental health, like with men's work or breath work or some couples work, and that's it. There's
Right.
nothing
That's
better
how
in
you
life
got it.
than
So I mean,
seeing someone
stepping into
change
this,
their
was
life.
that like terrifying to like go into the next thing, or you're like the confidence you're talking about? I'm curious about that confidence of stepping into another role of like you just saying like you just
So the
felt
way it happened.
confidence,
Okay, I'll
like,
tell you.
how did that
The way
happen?
it happened is, I had a couple of months in savings to be able to decide what I wanted to do,
All right.
and I came to this idea: I really don't want to work for anybody.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, if that's really what I want to do, let me go do that. So let me take a small gig to work with someone. This way, I can get over this inner resistance.
Right.
So I just shared that with a friend at a Fabrengen, hanging out of some birthday party or whatever it may have been. And the next day he calls me and says, Barry, there's this camp that doubled in size since COVID, and they need help. Can you help them? I said, perfect. 2-month job. I'm literally just trying to test, myself working for someone and seeing how I perform and my own inner, I guess, learnings to understand why I'm resisting that. And I went to this Camp Gan Yisrael in New City, 300 kids.
Oh, nice.
With Simcha.
Yeah.
And
My daughter did the yoga class there at some point.
oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
It's an amazing camp and amazing people.
Very sweet people.
And that's my
My
first.
daughter's Shalva. So that's
Beautiful.
when I shout out her name.
Nice. It's a beautiful name.
Very smart. Stern
Shalva.
college. Single. Yeah.
There's somebody listening to this like, okay.
There you
okay.
go.
There's a match.
We're accepting
listening.
resumes. I'm just saying. Send it to my email.
Shalva.
DM me.
Shalvanow@gmail.com.
Yeah. Shalva soulmate right. All right.
So I take this role with Simcha. It's a 2-month role. And he says, Barry, is it okay if I send the difficult kids to you?
Right.
The kids that are like, can you just like discipline them or,
Or something.
if something, like let them go through you before they come to me.
All right.
And I just, I really helped a lot of those children. And from then on, the rest of the summer, I was dealing with a lot of, in addition to other things, dealing with a lot of the difficult, behaviorally challenged kids. And so much so that the girls division and their staff, some of them were senior staff, were coming to me asking how to navigate certain scenarios. And I've learned this through my own practice with my own children and my other experts who I spend so much time with teaching me. So I just implemented what I knew.
Right.
And then a parent from that, one of the parents from the camp said, can you teach me with how to behave with my kids? Because there's a lot of misbehavior and they're 4 or 5 years old. Can you help me? So, and I already had a model in mind, but I didn't really have the confidence, but here someone's asking for my help. So I went to help him. We spent time, I went to his home. I told him how to lead his family to be, have a good breakfast, how to navigate the house without tripping over your own how-to and when and how to deal with the difficulty of the children not wanting to put their socks on or how to feed them breakfast. If they don't want to eat this food, when I don't want this, I want that, or refusing to eat the breakfast because you poured the cereal. I wanted to pour the cereal. How to navigate all these, and that's what started it.
You're getting that just from your own life experience, or
No,
I spent training?
So I didn't have a formal training,
Right.
but I did spend like 200 hours with one of the greatest child psychologists probably out there, and
Meaning to train you, or like for yourself?
for my own kids, yeah,
For your own thing. Okay.
yeah.
Nice.
So
200 hours.
oh
I'm
yeah,
trying to calculate
tremendous,
How much money? that
tremendous,
is.
yeah. It may have been more. It's been
Right.
so that really, basically I had like a real mentorship, teaching me how to be with my kids in so many scenarios. And there's the heart of this of the principles of what I know, and then there's implementing it.
Right.
And both of those, take time and understanding. And I loved it. I believed in it. I lived it, and then I taught it.
So that's really cool. You actually, I think you mentioned this once before, but like you actually go into the house and you just mentioned it now, but I'm saying you still doing that? Like go into the house and like go full blown like.
Yeah. And the reason is.
You ever watch that show Nanny 911?
No.
Okay, well. All right. It's a show that this woman does this, and it's awesome. She like gets them. I like do you ever watch The Dog Whisperer?
It's a good name, but I did not watch it.
That show is the best parenting show I've ever seen. It's about like how to like control crazy dogs, and he says, I don't train dogs, I train owners.
Right. Yeah.
So if you watch that show, you're gonna be like, oh, this is exactly what we do with people.
Right. So my mentor, Dr. Mark Brenner, people call him the child whisperer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's extremely gifted, and he's shown me, everything I know about how to raise and be with children. So my relationship with my children, once after I met him, completely shifted from distance and misbehavior to, a closeness and a relationship. And that's what he teaches. The main success for your child will depend on your relationship with them.
Really? I got a phone call today. I don't do a lot of parenting stuff. I got a phone call today, and the truth is he was asking me all about parenting. And I realized my experience with parenting was when I first got married and started having kids, I was really, really sure how to parent kids. Like you meet single people, they really know what they're doing. They're great. I told my brother, one single brother, I said he should write a book that's called A Singles Man's Guide to Parenting. You just take the kid, discipline them, and what do you mean? That's how you do it. So when I first got married, it was like I was really confident. And each kid, I got less and less confident about how to raise them. It was like became much more curious. Like, what am I doing here? Like, and I tried that with this one, and they're all turning out like however they're turning out anyway. They're all kind and special and wonderful, but I became less arrogant about what it is. So this person was asking me, how to deal with certain behaviors and stuff, and I realized I'm like if you call me about an addict, it's not that hard. I'll give you all the answers. It's that's what I'm in the middle of. And with kids, because my only experience with kids are my own kids, it's really hard for me to give good advice on what to do with kids. And we were agreeing on what it was, but I was like, you need a parent, a child whisperer,
right,
to figure it out. And I think I just gotta bless God that my kids have turned out so wonderful. But I don't think it has so much to do with me.
I think I don't know I don't know your children, but I do know the work you do,
right,
and the style in which you help children off the street, change their lives around.
Right.
That those are the same principles.
Yeah, I'm assuming,
parenting.
but I never this is actually also interesting. As when I first started my career, I was very critical of parents. First of all, all my training is psychology, which is everything is the parent's fault. That's what it is. It's all your fault. And if you're looking at Freud or Erickson, it's your fault. And you messed them up, and nurtures the whole thing. You take the whole nature, kind of throw it out, and nurtures the whole thing. And so when I started, it was literally I would be furious at parents all the time. What is wrong with you? What are you doing to your kid in today? And as I've gone along, now I'm way further into the field. I almost always taking the parents' side at this point. I don't mean to say that I'm taking their side like they're doing the right thing, but I really get what they're going through. Oh my God, my little delicious, wonderful kid is turning. It's all my fault, and I don't know what to do, and the shame and the blame and all that stuff. So now it's like I come in going, I completely hear you as a parent. Like, let's talk about this. And they could have messed up on everything, but I feel like I was one step away from doing all the things they did.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not that far away from screwing up all our
Absolutely.
kids. That's
Absolutely.
what I'm
We
saying.
must stay humble. Even as we reach greatness, we have to stay humble. We
Yeah.
have to stay.
Okay, so when you went in, you were doing this technique, and you're still doing that.
Mm-hmm. And there are other things that I started adding to kind of helping people along the way. But yes, that
Okay.
and I can tell you
But
about
you
other
seem
things.
like
But
a
I want.
restless spirit because you keep going. But tell me what you wanted to say.
Yeah, no, I wanted to say on this. The difference. The core of parenting is respect the process, not the results.
We explain that better.
Every child, right? If we get caught up in the results of what we're looking for, we want the child to do this. We want them to, just to go to school on time, not be late, so I don't have to drive them to school myself, or do well in school, just as an example. All right, those are the results that we want. But if we focus on the results, then we disrespect. We don't want to focus on the results in lieu of focusing on the process, which is the child's process to learn how to cope with themselves and how to succeed on their own. And that's what we want to do. We want to raise children to become adults and not focus on just the results, but focus on the process of the child getting there. So sometimes we have to give up on the results and say, okay, it's okay.
Is it like a temporary giving up, or like we just gotta figure out how to like do a mind trick where it's like gone? Like, how do we? Because I get people call me about addiction, so they're like, hey, fix this adult child or whatever, fix them. So they want the results. So let's say you could be like, okay, we're working through it, and they got to go through this whole process, and yeah, we're doing that. But they're like, he's still,
you can
smoking
only do
crack.
the results. You can only focus on the results if it's not going to compromise the process.
Gotcha.
So let's say with you in your sober living home, if somebody, like you say, is depressed, you're going to bring them a tea. It's okay to be depressed.
Right.
Because you believe inherently that once the person is going to be, feel good about his own self-worth, he'll be his own engine to drive himself.
Right.
You don't need to worry about his results because he's worried about them.
Oh, I love what you just said.
Right? So that's...
No, because it's like... so many times I want to say, like, you did something wrong, and then I think that person thought that 40 times today.
Correct.
Like, they're so ahead of you on what's wrong.
Right.
Like, I have guys come over to me all the time. They're like, I don't know what to do. What do I got to do? And I'm like, really? Okay, let's go through your day. You wake up in the morning. Should you wake up late or you should wake up early? Okay, early. You make your bed, not make your bed. Make your bed. We could go through the entire day. Be kind to people, be mean to people. And I'm like, so you know exactly what to do. The question is, why you're not doing it? Now that's where we got to go into like a discussion of where it goes. But I love what you're saying. It's like you have to like, you could only focus on the results if they're not affecting the process of getting back to results because they know it also. They know what to do.
Right.
I love that. I love that. So that's like a guiding principle. What's the name of that guy again? I got to read his books. He has books?
Yeah. He has several books, about 6 books.
Okay.
Dr. Mark Brenner.
Mark Brenner. Okay.
Yeah. Mark L. Brenner.
Mark L. Brenner. That sounds even
There's
better.
a couple of Mark Brenner, so you got to know.
Yeah,
you got to get the right one.
Oh, okay. Sounds very Jewish.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Jewish guy.
Very Jewish.
He's very Jewish.
Big soul.
Yeah. Okay, so now you're there. I'm taking you further. I could stay here for a while, but then you got into like, I know you're into breath work. You're into like a whole bunch of other things. How did that happen from this? Like, you're a wandering soul, like in a little sense. Like you're looking for more, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, I definitely am looking for more, and I'm comfortable with this changing and seeing whatever goes whatever the next phase is.
So how did you go to the next slide? I don't know, like what how did okay? So let me ask you about like, okay, I don't really know where it went, but you hit the breath work and stuff. Like, how is that connected to this? You tell me. I don't know. Maybe everything's connected.
I was. I would go to a family, and the parents are stressed out. You have 5 kids at home. They're trying to make figure themselves and the children out, and it's just so stressful. It's like, where do you begin? It's like I come to the house and like everyone's a mess. It's like, okay, Barry, sorry we're late, but this isn't ready and we're not ready to talk. I'm overwhelmed, and like, okay, let's chill. It's okay. So for me, I found that breath work was extremely helpful. And
even your own work.
My own work.
Right.
And I'm talking, let's say, 10-minute breath work sessions on my own, just with a YouTube video, Wim Hof or whatever it may have been. And I like Wim Hof. I was introduced to Wim Hof, and I started using him periodically, and then I started using him regularly. 10 minutes every day it may have been. And then eventually, I came to a group breathwork session, and I loved the transformation that some people were experiencing, and I wanted to be able to give that to them. So I called one of the people that I've sat with, and I've sat in a breathwork session with them. I say, "Can you train me?" He says, "Yeah, we can train." So as I started training, I started using this.
Just for the audience, and the truth is, for me too, I guess, because I've actually never been in a. That's not true. I've been in one. I haven't been to a lot of breath work sessions. You said like you're sitting with a breath work session. I also want to fix your mic. Sorry, I'm ADHD while I'm sitting around, because I feel like if you could have it like that, it could be closer, but it's blocking your beautiful face.
Thank you.
From my reels. So are you doing like breathwork session? What does that mean? I mean, I don't even know what breathwork means. Like, explain that.
So breathwork is focusing on your breath for the period of time that you're going to focus on your breath. So if you did breathwork right now for a minute, you'd already feel some changes in you. Okay. Right? Think about when a child is having a tantrum. At the end of the tantrum, you're going to hear them. You will hear that happen. Right. And that breath helps them regulate themselves. So if you give yourself an overdose of those breaths, you begin to feel differently. Okay, so what? So if you did a breathwork session for 10, 15 minutes, you will feel some difference. With a long breathwork session, people, what could happen is that their conscious mind becomes quiet. They get and they basically access their subconscious mind by turning off their conscious mind. And then once a person's conscious mind is off, a lot of his barriers and self-barriers and resistances are down. And once those are down, healing is able to happen on its own through the own body guiding itself. So when I watch somebody breathe, I'm just there to basically create the space for him to breathe for 60 minutes. And in those 60 minutes, typically, if the person is in a good setting and they feel they can trust me or the practitioner, then they can let go even more and access, whether it's intelligence, insights, or some pain that they're holding on to for years, or just a physical well-being. They may be very stressed, and they come down as extremely relaxed. They may be confused, come out very clear. They may be emotionally a mess and come out with, healing what they say, like sexual trauma. So I've seen people have 5 years of therapy in an hour of breath work. Right. It's I don't understand it. It's magical.
Well, okay, let's say what do the people say is actually scientifically happening? They're like,
scientifically, it seems like they're just studying it now. Mm-hmm. So I don't know the answer to that.
But you're just watching it happen.
Yeah. I'm seeing the benefits. I mean, I know what people are telling me.
And people are much more susceptible than other people. So sometimes you'll have in the same room, you probably have someone who had like life-changing experience. This one just had a calm experience.
Yeah, right.
And
right. People have variation of experiences.
People have told me they've hallucinated from this. That could happen also.
Sure.
Like it's like releasing DMT.
That was what encouraged me to go to a long session, because I knew the benefits of 10-minute breath work. I was using it.
Right.
And I was also using it, like I said, when I was going to people's homes, I was like, okay, do this for 10 minutes. So I was already giving people the tools that I was using for themselves.
Right.
And now with longer breathwork sessions, it just became its own thing. And I'm still using it with clients and families. I was just asked to help a 15-year-old with a breathwork session. We didn't schedule it yet, but we're gonna do a breathwork session for him to help him see, to help him get further and healthier in life.
Right.
But some of the things people are telling me, it may have been. I had one guy who told me, Barry, I can't tell you what happened, but if I do what came to me to do, my life will change forever. I'm like, all right, go do your thing, man.
What was that again? You lost me. What
he says?
Said?
He says, Barry, he's a friend of mine, and whenever I deal with friends in breathwork, it becomes somewhat awkward because I'm holding space for them in a way that I've never held space for. It's like, okay,
right.
well, now they're
shifting roles a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's always an awkward feeling and energy in the room, but we still do it and they still make progress. So this friend tells me something happened. I'm not going to tell you what happened, but if I do the insight that I had to do, my life will change.
He got
insight,
of teaching that
that this is so important for him to do. He probably knew he needed to do it, but it was like too scary to do. And he said, it's really scary to do, but if I did it, and he said to me, I'm going to do it. That was like, I saw he was resolute about, I'm going to do that thing. I saw him a few weeks later, and he says, Barry, I waited a few days till I did what I needed to do. It changed my life. You can go ask my wife. Ask his wife. And he says, one day I'll tell you, but changed my life. So that's something which and then he tells me a few weeks after that, he says, I was speaking with some friends and I told them what happened, and they can't believe that came from a breathwork session. They said that's 10 years of therapy. They can't believe that happened in breathwork.
So I had that experience on ayahuasca, but
correct. That's what attracted me to breathwork, is like you could have psychedelic experiences. So I went to try it. I did not have a psychedelic experience, but I had an amazing experience, and that was what led me to breathwork, wanting to have that.
So you actually touched on the thing that I'm always getting into it with people about the psychedelics, breathwork, all these interesting newer modalities. I don't know how to call them, because they're very popular now, and there's a good reason for it, because it's having some serious effect on people. My biggest cynical thing that I've seen is that, and your friend did what I love, which is you get insights of how to change your life. It always comes to, then you got to do something. The session itself may make you feel great. The way I describe it is like, Har Sinai. We talk to God. We're at the top. It's fireworks. It's everything, right? And then 40 days later, we're serving the idol. We're making a golden calf, and because that's our human experience. We could have a spiritual experience. If we don't do something about it, then it fades away. So then we needed 40 years in the desert to make it work. To do the work, and then we were able to go into the Holy Land. So like that was the process. When a lot of the time, my cynicism on all this is always that people get addicted to going to the top of the mountain. They're like, I want to get back to the top of the mountain because that felt great. It's like also you have this muscle with marriage. Like, I want to be the day I got married again. I want to be at the wedding again when I had those butterflies and everybody was just, loving it, and there was just simcha in the air, and like I want to keep going back there. Well, you could get there, but it's a slower process. What I found, especially for me with ayahuasca and with other modalities I've done, is that, especially meditation, is that it gives me an insight on where I have to go. It opens doors that it says, this is where you go. You thought that's what you had to work on, but really it's that. And it's so real, it's so true, and then you do the work. My biggest cynicism is that a lot of people don't do the work. They just get excited about the thrill of learning the answer. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So
and,
you feel
and listen, I think psychedelics is an amazing thing, and I think like all amazing things, they're going to be abused and misused.
right.
So most people will not do integration, and they won't implement that part of the trip that's most necessary. And when you don't integrate, then you don't get the benefits. That's really, that really is the purpose of the medicine.
Right.
So that's why I have tremendous respect for those medicine men, medicine women who are very careful with who they give medicine to. And I know people who only give medicine to people who are in active therapy. If you're not in active therapy, I'm not giving you therapy, medicine.
Yeah, the problem with that is there's so many other people willing to give it to them. It's not.
But understood. But people still, when people realize that,
yeah,
then they go for guidance for the people they trust, because they lose trust in those people that are just giving medicine because they want to make another buck or they want to introduce someone to the experience. People will lose respect for those people eventually.
Well, it's so interesting because so the one time I did breath work, I'm gonna ask you about this. The one time I did breath work, I did it as a staff training in my other place, our place. This is our village, so that's our place. So we did it as staff training. It was fascinating. We had this guy on, and he did this, and I realized that I was going under, kind of. And I was like, I'm not going there. I'm with my staff.
Right.
So I got kind of like bailed
on
it. But I felt, like you said, and like it took me to a place of deep meditation without actually doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like.
Right.
And I was buzzing. I've done some of the Wim Hof also, but I was like buzzing, and then my brain. But I saw some people getting stuck in it, and like.
What do you mean stuck in it?
Like there was some people that like they had to pull them out because they were like going too far in. I don't know. There was like, I actually thought if you're not well trained in this could be a dangerous endeavor to go into a place where your conscious mind just kind of floats away. And then you're dealing. Is that part of the training?
Absolutely. So what I like about the trainer who I took, there's a lot of people trained in this community. But some of the trainers give a couple of sessions. They give a week of training. I'm in a year program. We have to do a ton of work. We have to have a ton of practice with free clients, and then we have to do a ton of work on ourselves. And I'm very confident with the training that I have. He told us some scary stories he had one guy who people 60 years ago, when people were first introduced to breathwork and now they're living breathwork, they thought they wouldn't die. So breathwork had in their mind the ability to basically create, a low lymphatic situation. They thought they weren't going to die? They thought they would basically heal any ailment so quickly that they would stay healthy forever and they would never. These are like the initial, the people who were obsessed with breathwork. But the point is, people knew the power of breathwork. Somebody came to a breathwork session, and he did not. One of the things in terms of like medical condition is that if you have a heart condition, you can only do breathwork if you're on your meds, because your heart rate will accelerate, and you want to be able to have your meds to prevent any damage. So the one participant came to do breathwork to heal his heart condition, and he deliberately did not take his meds, and he died in the breathwork session. This is 60 years ago.
God. 60 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you have people who. That's why you need to be trained to look out for. But that's the other thing that I like about. So you do need to be trained, and you need to be trained well. The thing though I like about breathwork, different than that, that's not with psychedelics, is that people are not consuming anything. It's much. I mean, it's years apart in terms of safety.
Right.
Also in terms of the process, it's only an hour. It's not 6 hours or more. You're gonna be back to normal after 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, as opposed to really people can be thrown off for days to months to years when they take ayahuasca.
Right.
So it's and also people that are taking meds have contraindicators. Their meds might be contraindicators to the plant medicine.
Right.
With breath work, anything you're taking, anything you're eating, any mind, even if you're schizophrenic or have other personality disorders, you don't have those risks. So I still do recommend psychedelics in many scenarios, but breathwork is very powerful and sometimes in par to psychedelics.
Right. Well, people have told me. I guess.
The other week, I spoke about a story about a detail I didn't know, but the other week I sat with someone who, in middle of the breathwork session, he screams out, "I am back." So let's say his name is Barry. He's like, "Barry's back." He came from a depression, and he literally opened up his soul. Basically his pilot light. Someone gave me this good terminology. His pilot light is off. This guy came from his pilot light being off, his pilot light being on in a breathwork session. Complete change.
I love it, but my question is the follow-up. That's mean like, yeah. I don't really want to get so cynical because I'm really fascinated by it. I think that people are giving it a bad rap by going and doing it and not following up with, you call it integration, but like the work.
Right.
Like, and I almost feel like it's a disservice to something that's great by watching so many people. I had, like a group of, like I know all these people that are like doing ayahuasca like weekly, and they're getting into, and they want to do every single different type of psychedelic, and they're all, I even wrote a song on AI called, maybe I could play it at the end of the podcast. It's called "I Lost My Friends to Ayahuasca." Like, they're in ayahuasca world, and like, it's a pretty awesome song. I can send it to you afterwards. But it's like you could get completely trapped in the world. And I feel like it does, like when I want to yell to the world, like, hey, go do something like a breath work, go do something like a psychedelic. Everybody tells me 20 stories about people that, like, yeah, they did it. They thought they were better, and now they're not better, Like, so.
With breath work, you don't have, let's say somebody did too much breath work.
Right.
What does it cost, right? There's no change to his system.
No, I do
medicine
see that, because when you walk in, it could get a little culty. It could get like, cults use this stuff also because it's a really easy tool to use. We're all sitting around doing breath work, and then the person running it seems like a little bit like a Jesus-y character after a little while, especially if he wears like the white robes and hits gongs or whatever his plan is.
Right.
But it could get a little.
Right.
Like, I walk in and I'm like, I have a big, like, I'm still like a little yeshivish kid. Like, I still like cringe. I'm like, oh, we're doing this. Okay, this is what we're doing. We're gonna wear weird clothes and everything's just hanging off of you. Like, you have shapes,
Right.
Wear a belt. Jeez, no. Anyway, I don't know.
No, I see that, and that's why. Meaning, when I was researching which mentor I was gonna find, I liked the choice that I made, because he literally brings nothing with him other than the music, and he says sometimes the music doesn't work, and that's okay. So it's just breathing.
Sometimes the music doesn't work. What is
no,
that?
he shared. He's like, the music is just it's a beneficial, right? His belief is all you need is the breath and the willingness to let go of whatever's in you.
Yeah.
That's all you need. So there's a lot of people, they clean the room first. They bring other.
You do like the sage.
The sage, or they whatever people do. The things that we're both uncomfortable having. And what I like here is it's just a breath. It's just a breath.
It's just the breath.
Just a breath.
Wow.
So I just want to answer, kind of your concern. A large part of the reason why people are struggling is because accumulated garbage, resentments, fears, shame. And if in the process they're getting rid of it, even if they don't they don't integrate the way that they possibly will if they had the right guides or the right approach to the medicine, they'll still clean themselves from that 30-year-old shame, and that is healthy.
Right.
So,
Is it clean yourself? I think what I found really awesome, tell me if I'm wrong about this, it's most people don't believe they can live without the shame. And even to feel it for 5 minutes, like, oh my God, I could exist without shame. Like I could exist. This is not like attached to me like a symbiote. Like it's not like attached. I could actually release it. That, and I've experienced this as well. Like I could live a healthy life. Just that knowledge gives them something to work towards. You know, it's like that lightning in the forest muscle where you're like, you know, you're in a storm and then you see a lightning and then you see the way out. But just knowing that there's a way out,
Even though you can't get there,
even though you can't get
relieving.
there's got to be like serious, like mental health benefits. I felt that in my life. Like, whoa, wow, I could feel fully loved. I could feel special.
Right.
I felt it. So you're saying like that guy saying I'm back. He knows he could be back,
Right.
even if the next day.
It's exactly that. Absolutely.
There
But
might
I
be
do-
a benefit
I do
even if
believe-
there's no integration. That's
Right.
what I'm trying to
Yes.
say.
Yes. And there's no risk. There's no risk like there are in, right? The risk is your 60 minutes of your time. Even for myself, I try to do breath work once every 2 weeks, once a week,
Yeah.
just to maintain and keep myself sane, or basically maintenance. So even though I won't have experiences as intense as others, or as I used to, it's still it's like somebody who's 300 pounds and they're going on a walk. That's really going to change their life. But if you're 200 pounds going on a walk, it's just going to make you feel good and keep you healthy. It's not going to change your life. It's just going to maintain your well-being.
Right.
So the difference is the different look. It looks different, but the benefit, there's still a huge benefit. And
So when you're doing the parenting stuff, you're going deep dive. You're in their life. When you're doing breath work, is it that people show up, do breath work, and then go home, or is there also like a deep dive type of situation that you work with their lives, or how does that work?
no, the breath work. So I use breath work with my clients. So if I'm then it's just another thing we're doing. Where they're going to spend time talking, working with this situation or that situation or whatever they're going through. But then the breath work definitely becomes more meaningful because they trust me even more than somebody else will. And I already know everything that they shared with me. So it becomes much easier for them to feel comfortable and let go.
Right.
But when I do group sessions or when people want just breath work, I'll help them just with that. And there's no follow-up, and that's fine.
And you can move on.
Yeah. Someone called me the other day. He's a friend of a friend's brother. He says, I'm going through a hard time. I don't know what I need, but my brother told me to call you. So we did breath work. I don't know what's going on in his life, but a lot happened in that hour. And I checked in with him the other day. He's like, I have a clarity now. I know where I'm going. And he was on a high for the first 2 days.
Right.
But he's like, I know where I'm going now. I'm not confused anymore. I feel like I have clarity. That's exactly what he needed.
And it gives you this really good clarity. Wow. Okay, so now you're seeing all these guys. Now you've really encountered a lot of people in this. Now this question's for me because I'm always curious what other like people that are working with people are seeing. Like, what are you seeing as the thing that keeps coming up? Just keeps coming up. Like, I don't know if it's for the community or the people you're working with, but like you keep seeing similar stories popping up. Not stories. I guess issues. I don't love the word issues, but like, things that people are stuck on. What are you seeing that keeps coming up, that like the common denominators?
I think the biggest thing, in my opinion, is that people feel like they need to do life alone. But really, you don't. You can actually have a community. And I think that, but that brings me, that's literally the life you try to build for these children, for these teenagers.
Right.
Create a community, and that's the way it really should be. And you have your Vaksham, is that the name?
Action, yeah.
So I have a men's group too.
Right. Talking about the men's
Yeah,
group.
and the men's group, the purpose of the men's group is to teach men how to not live life alone. Really believe that someone else gives a damn about you, cares about you, and you show up for them, care for them. And there's two.
Why do you
There's really,
think-
there's
why do you
really,
think-
there's
yeah.
there's really two things in this. There's like, it's not about, if we're in a men's group together, I need to learn how to support you fully.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, I want to be helpful. I'm a very nice guy, but I don't want to get too much in your space, too much in your face, and too much in the way, and like be too close. But no, there's actually a medicine in really showing care to somebody. It would be like, I think the way you would describe it is when somebody really messes up in this home, it's like, and then you show up to them and they're like, I'm leaving. And so, you're not leaving. What do you mean? It's my life. I know, but I love you. I'm not letting you give up. So like, you argue with them about how dedicated you are to them, and they don't want to believe it. It's like, no, I am dedicated to you. Like, that's actually brotherhood.
Right.
It's like, no, like the guy's in the battle and he has this, the bullet in him. It's like, just go, man, go fight the war. Go, I'm good. I'll end this. It's like, no, man, I'm here for you. If you die, I'm dying with you.
Right.
Like that, like really pushing the needle.
That brotherhood.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I want men to learn, and like how to actually push to show up for somebody. And then for me, it's like when I'm in need and no one's coming to me, how do I elicit that support? How do I bring someone to help me? How do I find someone to help me and not be ashamed of it? I have a good friend. So I was introduced to men's work 6 years ago or so in 2019. And I at that same time, I started working with a lot of non-Jewish men and going to these meetings of just brotherhood. And it was awkward, of course, because we have very, very different values about lifestyles, etc. But there was still an element of brotherhood. And I came to Shul, and a new guy's in Shul. And I like his energy. I'm like, that's the guy I want to be friends with. And we're friends till today. And our friendship is so strong that if I needed anything or he needed anything, it wouldn't be a conversation of what or how or when. It was, hey, Barry, I need help. Can you come tonight? Done.
Right. So, I mean, what about that? You just went and you learned the skill of being like, I'm making this guy my friend. Like, kind of, that's what you're saying?
He had the qualities of somebody who I liked, right? You have to like, not everyone likes everybody.
Yeah.
So the qualities of someone that I liked. And that I mean, it would have been, typically it would have been, at least for me, I probably would have been friends with him either way, but I would not know how to push kind of to show him how I can be a friend for him and teach him how to be a friend for me.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you, why do you think that we're all trying to avoid this community piece when it's so obvious to everybody that we need other people? If you ask anybody, you need other people.
Let me ask you, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. You believe that we need a community?
I do.
Yeah. If you were taken from this place and thrown into some other country, would you find a community?
Me never.
Yeah, yes, you would. Right? What are you?
Right? I don't know if I found the community now. My struggle,
so let's
which
start
is
with
a
that.
terrible struggle. You
Yeah.
want to get into a therapy session, let's talk. But my struggle is I preach and preach and preach and preach because I know this is what I need so desperately. And then every relationship I have inevitably becomes I'm helping them.
Really?
And not allowing them to help me. I'm preaching. I'm giving it, guys, here, this is vulnerable.
Really?
101. You wouldn't think this because I literally say
But in the Mavaksham group, people,
even in
you don't let,
Mavaksham,
you
I
don't let
don't
them
wanna-
help you?
What?
You don't let them help you?
I see my natural way is to avoid it. They literally have to force it on me.
And they're successful?
Sometimes.
Okay, so good.
But it's because I am forcing myself to but it is brutally difficult. So I'm asking you as a general
Wow.
question. But the truth is, my own experience in my life was always like, if I give, then I could get. I get by giving. So if there was a lot of conditional relationships, I would say.
Transactional.
So if I gave, then there's something I could get out of it. And so that's how I did my life. But I know when I'm analyzing with my brain, I can sit there going, there's nothing in this world more than me to sit in a room and be held. I remember something I was saying, your brother's podcast. I didn't even mention your brother the whole time, which is good. We're in the part of the parashas of the Torah where, like, you shouldn't mention someone's brother because there's a lot of, like, sibling rivalry in these parashas. Anyway, but on that pod, I was talking about how he was doing, like, this Adama. We did, like, a mini Adama retreat.
Oh, good.
And I went in. I'm telling you, I want to die more than go into these things. I will tell you that. Now, everybody's like, some people, like, love it. They're coming in. I want to die to put myself out there and be vulnerable in front of people. It's like I would rather die. Like, it's terrible. I'm doing it right now, but I'm telling you that's my experience. I go in and you get one guy to come into the circle and he's like yelling and screaming and punching the pillow and confronting his son, and there was like all this powerful stuff. And the whole time I was going, please don't call on me. Just don't call on me. Don't make me do that in the middle of a circle. I can't do it. I can't fall. So if people want to understand why I'm so deeply entrenched in the addiction community, like it's easily, you could go to, oh, he's in this because he really gets it. Like every addict is like, I am unlovable. Like if I do something, I could feel love. It's so deeply ingrained in me. I was like, right. I don't know if I wanted to get so deep here, but it's like when I think of a community and building a community, it seems like, okay, what do I got to do? What's the work I got to do? How much do I have to do to everybody so everybody in this room could love me, and then I can make it happen? And then and to me, I'd rather, they say introverts and extroverts. Like I'd rather stay home, but I'm not an introvert. Like, I don't think I'm an introvert, but extrovert's terrifying. Like, I got to go out there and make everybody love me today. You know what? I'm taking a break. Anyway, we got very deep into my thing. But you're seeing this. I literally have an aversion to it. And that's why I think it's so important. And you're seeing it with a lot of people where that's the biggest issue. Are they aversion, or they never been taught that it's what's supposed to happen?
You were speaking about this. Why is there so much addiction today? Right. Yeah. And really the addicted community is really a greater representation of mental illness in the world, but they're just the loudest ones.
Yeah.
Right?
Sort of.
All right.
I would disagree a little bit. No, it's about resilience. Like they don't have the resilience to deal with the world because their tank is draining.
But the issues that they're representing, the reason that they have the issues, others have the issues too, just not to that extent. Right? Let's say two siblings, one may be addicted, one may not. The other one also didn't get the self-worth that he needs from his parents. He just manages. He's less sensitive or whatever it may have been.
Right. It's a big nature thing.
Right.
Okay.
So,
right.
I think that if we created, if we had a family unit and the family unit learned from the parents on how to feel fully, to be held, right? The parents teach the child how to be held, and we do it by holding our children, and then the children in turn learn how to be comfortable being held, holding others. And then when they grow up, seeking out people who will hold them. So if you have, if somebody comes from a healthy home, then they'll know themselves so well, they know what they need so well, that it's unlikely they'll find a match, they'll get married to somebody who's incapable of holding them. They deliberately know what to look for already, inherently and intuitively, that they'll find somebody who, even though they didn't yet hold them, they know has the ability to
Right.
hold them. But that's all we want. We want to be held.
They need to. You want to hear something fascinating? I was listening to this. Okay, it's on this topic, but it's a little off. I was listening to this theory. There's a theory that one of the reasons women are late to things, unless I get into trouble for this, but one of the reasons women are, it's a theory out there. I don't know if it's been proven or not. But one of the reasons they're late is because they have to test the mate, like the potential mate, to see if this is a person who could handle difficulties and how they deal with Mikisa, Mikasa, Akosa, like how do you deal with life? And it's built in that they immediately will come to that first date, whenever it is, they will challenge them on the first date, and somebody who's like a sociopath will not be able to handle it. They will not be able to handle the fact that you're late. And you'll know it right off the bat. So I
think it's a great example. Let's assume that that's true, okay?
It was fascinating.
Let's assume that that's true.
Yeah.
How many people do you think will still not will trust themselves and say, I'm done with, we're not continuing? Or will say, no, maybe he just had a rough sleep or something.
A rough day.
So they don't actually trust their compass of judgment. And their judgment is skewed. And this is part of the mental, right? This is their self-awareness. They don't trust their own self-awareness, which leads them to make mistake after mistake. But the main thing that we want to teach them is to respect their process. So that's why back to the beginning of the conversation, when we respect children's process, they learn to trust themselves.
Right.
Because we're not focused on results. Because when they come to the date, it's like, okay, the result of the date is, what's a good result? I come back and it was a good date.
Right.
So that means I have to make even the negative things good. Okay, he was very angry with me, but it's okay because maybe there's a nice side to him.
Right.
As opposed to, this is not a good process, I'm done.
So, but that trust in yourself comes from getting unconditional love from your family, from your parents, and expecting to be loved. I have this thing with my wife all the time. She expects to be loved. You know how much I don't expect to be loved? So let's get into this. You want to know? Let's go on. This will be my therapy session, Barry. Thank you. This is free therapy right here. So I almost can't get angry at somebody if they've wronged me. I just come up with like a whole this is the explanation.
Wow.
I don't know. Lately I've been getting so angry about things lately, and it's because I'm like demanding, my inner child's like demanding love. But this is very recently. Like in the past, my wife would get angry about 2 days before I realized I was angry about the thing. Like she would watch me be, mistreated or somebody did something nasty to me, and I would immediately go into explaining it and going through the whole process and then be like, whatever. Like there's no expectation that someone's supposed to love me. And my wife would be angry immediately. She'd be like, what is going on now? And then I'm like 2 days later, I'm like, you were so right. And I'm always like annoyed. Like, why are you getting angry?
Right.
Why are you getting angry? Okay,
right.
This guy had a hard day. That.
Right.
It's exactly what you're discussing.
Yeah.
Here. Like it's
in my healing process. Interesting, actually. I remember. I don't know how old.
Yeah, you got to share something about yourself. Look
10,
at me.
10 or 13
apart.
years old.
Yeah, okay.
10 or 13 years old. And it was Tishrei in Crown Heights. And there's probably 10,000 guests that come from across the world, mostly Israel, to 770 in Crown Heights. And I remember both of my brothers got into some, I don't remember the details, but it seems like some American boys got into a fight with some of the Israeli boys.
Okay.
And I was somewhere in the vicinity, and I literally ran the other direction when I found out. I was like, I could not see myself stand up and fight. I was just so afraid.
Right.
And I was afraid. The whole idea was just so frightening. I ran. And then years later, this is interesting. I'm mentioning this on the podcast, but years later, there was something that happened actually a couple of years ago. So after I started paying attention and learning about myself, and learning that I hate conflict, but also learning that sometimes you need to have conflict in order to live, right? You can't give in because you're afraid of conflict. If conflict is necessary, you gotta got to be uncomfortable and stand up for yourself. Something happened in shul, and I basically, literally, it wasn't just me. It was a couple of guys. Someone was doing something wrong, and we tried to stop him. And I jumped in the ring to stop the guy. And one of the guys got a punched in the face, and we were like real brawling in shul.
It's a good shul.
And we're all friends. We're all good friends. But that moment, it was just very heated. But after that, I was like, nice. I got into a fight. It's like, that was good. Very, like actually realizing it wasn't a conscious thing. I just went straight in. Like that was the natural thing. Sometimes naturally we're angry. Naturally we need to stand up for ourselves. But if our kind of reactive, our inhibitors are very strong, and we're afraid of conflict because we need self-love, then that'll create an imbalance, and we won't live a healthy life. So it was gratifying to see that. So I learned a lot from the fight on shul.
Yeah, the full circle.
Also one in shul. I never put that together. The other fight was also in shul.
They were both in shul.
Yeah.
This is like the Rambam. That it's not tshuva until you have the same experience and then you act differently at the end of it.
But we do need a fight. We're all we're all soldiers at war. I mean, you think about any of the great. You just mentioned the Rambam, right? He was challenged tremendously by the Jewish world.
Yeah.
So think about the big Talmidei Chachamim, the big tzaddikim that fought him. They went around saying, "This man, you cannot learn his farm." So they had to be strong to do that. Yeah, they had to be strong to do that. If they were not afraid of conflict.
No.
They were living with what they believed is the right thing to do. And later, when they realized it was a mistake, they went back around to apologize and ask mechila.
Well, that was the coolest part of that story.
Okay,
the last.
That's
part.
it.
Wow.
So
yeah. Well, I have a mechanism that's even better. I don't even know I'm supposed to fight.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I stopped it before. I don't even know why I'm supposed to be mad. I get mad at something else later on. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be mad at.
Right.
It's changing. It has been changing.
Obviously, but this self-awareness
it's a very strong self-awareness. But that's very cool. You got to have the same experience and react differently.
Yeah.
I'm also terrified of my anger. Because when I was young, I was momish fighting everybody. I was the opposite.
Right.
I was so angry all the time, getting into so many fights. I mean, it got kicked out of every school. Like, it was always about fights.
Right.
It was a lot of fighting. And
so one thing that you might do in a men's thing is actually allow other men to see your anger.
Right.
And then, like, in the way you in the way
right.
you
That's
teach,
what this guy's gonna make me do.
right.
Punch my
in the
pillow.
way in the way you in the way you right in the right.
Don't make me punch the pillow.
But this is what you teach the children, right? When the children are at their lowest level and they resist the love, you say, "No, I still love."
Yeah.
So yeah, show me the anger, and I'll still be able to hold space for you. That's what a good men's group will do.
Oh yeah. I wanna. I can't. You saying I can't just preach forever and not practice at all what I preach? Is that what you're saying?
You were complaining before about integration.
You're so much sicker than you were even complaining about. It's a fascinating thing that happens on this podcast is like, for some reason, I don't mind saying everything about myself, which is like so odd.
Wow.
It's not. It's only on the podcast. It's like I feel like it's
now I have a fear of making my own.
You should be afraid. Most people I see make their podcasts, they're very polished and professional about it, and for some reason I feel like it's like my secret way of telling the world who I really am. Like, it's like a secret, and it's the craziest thing because it's like thousands and thousands of people. It's not like I'm telling, like, I can't tell people in a men's group, but I could tell.
And why is that?
I don't know. The truth is, I'm not punching the walls right now. Like, I'm intellectualizing stuff that is deeply felt. Like, I don't know. Like, I probably could intellectualize this in a men's group too.
Right. You definitely can.
I do. And I do.
Right.
But it's intellectualized. It's not but I want to say to the world that this is happening. I also have met so many hundreds, thousands of people that are struggling with the same thing I'm struggling with, that say, oh no, we're all perfect, you're the one struggling, is very confusing to me. Like, I see that a lot. Like, one of my biggest pet peeves is like, even like I was talking about the parshas, like we're talking about like Amravina, Yitzchak Avina, but like the Torah like always doesn't whitewash. It tells you the stuff that's gritty and hard, and they went through it. And like we've turned our culture into like a whitewashing culture where it's like if you're great, everything is perfect in your life. Like, you weren't a troublemaker, you weren't this, you like literally did your life. I call it the art scroll biography life. Like you're the gadol that just everything was smooth. And like, I have no respect for someone who didn't go through challenges. I don't know what to do with that in my life. It's not that I have no respect. Let's say they did it. What does it mean to me? You come to me and say, you should be better in life because Gabriel, the Malach, has a very good life. He's done it all. He's never done a sin in his entire life. I'd be like, great, he's a Malach. What does that have to do with me? So like, I feel like I need to be the voice of saying, hey, you could have a great life. You could do amazing things. You could fight your challenges. You could become somebody who is great in the world with all the same stuff that everybody else has.
Right.
To me,
And that's it, right?
awesome.
I think you said it earlier. Shame holds people back in tremendous ways. It's
Yeah. But I think that that's what
I've
makes...
had people tell me things like, have you told this to a friend? It's like, no, you're the first person I said this to. I said, please tell a friend. Please. And they can't. It's like, all you need is tell a friend.
Right.
And your problems will go away.
It just goes away.
Because it's so much shame.
It's so much shame.
It's so much shame.
You know, the fascinating thing about shame is that
And it's both men and women.
It becomes so powerful that we ultimately identify that whatever we're ashamed, that is us. The real us is that little piece.
Right.
We hurt this guy at 15 years old.
People are going to find
like,
out who we really are.
That's us.
Right.
Even though nothing has happened since then. Like, we've never done it. I've met people that are like, that is their entire life. That shame.
Yeah.
I find
And
that,
you can relate, and I can relate to that.
Yeah.
It
has
shame
never
is
been
tremendous.
a person I don't sit down with who I don't relate to their story. Actually, yesterday, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I'm not going to mention the name, but one of the guys I was talking to, he was really not liking what I was saying, advice to him. He wasn't liking it. I haven't done this in many years, but I'm like, you know what? You try it. I'll be you. You'll be me, you know? So we switched seats, and he was me, and I was him, and I was telling him his stuff. There was nothing I was telling him when I was acting like him that wasn't authentic.
Right.
He thought I was acting him. Maybe I don't have it as powerful as him, or I'm not in the space he is, but there was not an emotion that he was telling me before. And when I was acting, and I was like, all these things I think and feel. Mm-hmm. It wasn't hard to get into his shoes. I never meet someone in these, in all my encounters, which is tens of thousands of encounters, where I don't really relate to them on a very deep way. And I feel like they have to be told that. I'm not talking about sharing. The therapist doesn't have to share their entire burden on. That's not the point. But people should know that every person you're talking to has gone through some level of what you're going through. And the reason maybe this person is a giant in the world is because he is working on it consistently and getting better with it.
Right.
And it's weird because the world wants to see perfect. Mm-hmm. And I'm not convinced. Like, they have Brene Brown talks about all the vulnerability stuff, and like that's her thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Brene Brown.
A little. I'm familiar with her.
Okay.
A little familiar with her work.
She's awesome. But I'm not convinced that the world is so excited. Like, I watch the podcasts that I see that are coming out, and everybody's like, it's like they're just saying the best stuff about themselves, and the professionals, they come on and they talk about like how they've like figured out life, and they're the guy, they figured it out, or the woman, they're giving advice to everybody, and the world is very impressed with that. Those are the podcasts that get hundreds of thousands of views. So to me, it is disturbing to me, because my whole belief is that we need to see the grit in our leaders in order to be able to understand how great they are. but I think I'm wrong. That's what I'm trying to say to you. I think I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong.
I think people, when people are attracted to kind of those type of leaders, they're looking for that in themselves, and they don't want to hear any of the problems. They want to hear the wins, the triumphs, the successes.
Right.
So it's kind of an
like
imaginary...
the story in the Gemara, you'll for sure know it. Or you'll know better than me. I'm just thinking like when the guy gets up there and he says, I didn't have any money. So then they think about Eliezer. He never had money. Elazar, or whatever. And then, I was too rich. And then this guy is too rich. He also did it. Or do you know this Gemara I'm talking about? It's like when you get to heaven and you're saying all the complaints. Maybe it's a medrash. And they're saying all these complaints about like, I could have done it, but this was my challenge. This is my challenge. We'll always be able to point to someone who had that challenge and still did it.
Right.
I like that story. Because I'm like, yeah, Yosef Atzadik struggled with vanity.
Right.
And like he still became Yosef Atzadik.
Right.
Tzaddik doesn't mean perfect. I know that because he's called Tzaddik and he had struggles. The reason he's a tzaddik is because he overcame those struggles.
Right. And that's the process we need to respect.
Right.
When we focus on results, we shame the process.
We shame the process.
And then anything and because the process is what's actually special and unique, we get focused on, well, I don't have this result, and I did this once, and I did that once, so I can't live with myself. That's
right.
Shame. That's it.
Right. Any pet peeves you have? Let's hear something that's upsetting you about the world, the community. I want to hear.
I definitely do. What's my pet peeve?
You're so positive. I want to hear some negative. You know what I mean? No, I'm kidding.
Help me. Bring it out. This has got to be something.
Oh, pet peeve. Have you gotten blowback from the community at all, like about any of the things you're doing?
It's actually interesting. Someone said yesterday, he says, yeah, Berry doesn't care about what others, he was specifically talking about Lubavitch. He's like, he doesn't care what the Lubavitchers think of him. I'm like, yeah, this guy particularly doesn't either.
Right, okay.
I'm like, yeah, that's why you're so great, because you don't care what people think, and that's why you're able to excel in your life. But yeah, I definitely did care, and to me, it's like, it definitely is awkward for a shliach, turn shliach, businessman to breathwork facilitator and helping, parents with their children. That was actually one of my big wins in ayahuasca. So at the time, it was right after the summer camp that I spoke to you about.
Right.
And after the summer camp, I decided I had one of the schools wanted me as a teacher. I wanted to teach, but I didn't really want to teach. I wanted to do more. So I said, let me substitute. But whenever somebody asks me, Barry, what are you doing these days? Because I just left, the job a couple of months earlier. I said, I'm teaching. I'm also doing some business because I had some, always involved in a little bit. And I always made sure to mention also doing some business. And I recognized it. So then I did ayahuasca, but there was a shame around it. Just, being a teacher.
Right.
So in this medicine journey, I went to...
Is that the first time you experienced ayahuasca?
Yeah.
This is only a couple of years ago. Okay.
2020, 2021 maybe.
Okay.
21 maybe. And I have this vision of me teaching in the classroom, and it was a memory that came up to my mind, and I'm seeing a child who I know their parents, and I know this kid, and this kid is a brilliant mind, like one of the smartest kids in the class, and it's a very smart class, and I just resonated and felt the pain that he's in, because I know how difficult things are at home, and how the parents are overwhelmed with their own life and they pay no attention to him. Nobody sees him. And whenever he, does this, he moves a needle in the wrong direction, everyone blows up at him. So I just felt his pain, and the pain was just increasing. I was dying from the pain. It was so much pain. I was crying as if I just carried his pain for those few minutes. I was crying desperately, like wanting to breathe. I was like, I can't deal with this. God help me. And then the question was like, what are you going to do about it? So I was like, well, I know what I could do. I could teach. Kind of just owned that position. And right after I just said, okay, I'll teach, the scene ended, and I went to the next ayahuasca scene. So in those 5 minutes after that, I wasn't ashamed anymore to own that position. Shortly afterwards, I went more into the coaching.
Right.
But
you mean saying afterwards, you didn't have to say, I'm also doing business.
Right. Really, it was just a cover-up.
Right.
It was just a facade to make myself look good.
I have a very similar thing where you just reminded me of this. I have a similar thing where people ask me like, what do I do? So I say I run our place and I run our village, and and then I realized like, why do I have to say I run it?
Right.
Why do I say I run it?
Right.
So I've been practicing. I say, I work for our place and I work for our village, and like, it's hard. I want them to respect me immediately.
Right.
For like, whoa, he runs something very chashuv, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't even realize I was doing it till I'm like, why can't I just say I work there?
About 15 years ago, my brother Heinz, he used to come to Crown Heights once in a while to play basketball with his friends. So he was looking for another man on the team. So he went outside, tried to recruit somebody to come play.
A censor.
Yeah, a center. So this guy says, I can't play. I'm busy. I have to work. I'm going to sleep, wake up tomorrow. He's like, what do you do? It's like, he asked my brother, says, I sell cell phones. He's like, oh, okay. Well, I have actual real job, so I don't have time to play basketball. That interaction of a guy who owns
Well, he owns like a massive company.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I sell cell phones.
Oh, well, you're
right.
Wow. That's to say I sell cell phones.
Yeah.
You don't have to like give you a little resume.
Right.
I also think when people say like,
and now
why
if
do we
people
have to
say
answer the question at all?
Right. It's just a way. Firstly, it's also the result thing. What's the results? It became, our culture. Well, I think that's maybe the negative soul behind it, but it's also our culture. People don't know how to interact without going into places that don't really matter.
Yeah.
Right? When I was in Missoula, everyone is super nice. Montana, everyone is so nice. And it bothered me because I would go to shop and I'm just trying to get some groceries, and the cashier is like, so how's your day going? And they were for real, how is your day going? And I'm like, I don't have time for this. Okay, just give me the groceries, let me go. So as opposed to like, hey, what do you do? It's like, how's your day going? Right? Like,
And they want to know.
How's your day going? How you doing?
I remember getting freaked out when I hit like Atlanta, Georgia for the first time in my life when I was like 15. I hit the South for the first time, and all the people just actually asking you questions that they want to. Hello, good morning, how are you? Like, and you're like, why is this person talking to me? I don't even know who this person is.
Right. And that's it's that's a pet peeve. Okay, there you go. There you go. You want a pet peeve?
Yes, we got there.
Okay, so I'm in shul, and people want to be friendly. People want to be nice to each other. So you have a guy, he'll tease someone in a negative way to be friendly, but it actually does the opposite. Like a guy comes 10 minutes late. It's like, you're late again. Right. But they're only doing it because they want to have some rapport and they want to get close, but they have zero skills of good to see you.
Right.
Like, what's going on, brother? It's like just a tease and a yank and a push and a pull when it pains me, honestly, to kind of, I know what, it's just that people don't know.
Like, just genuinely say it.
And they are genuine. That's the thing. They are genuine. They actually care.
Yeah.
But it became normal.
Well, I saw this thing. Well, you got to tease a little. Men tease. I don't know the reason.
Understood.
But you got to have a lot of not teasing.
Right, exactly.
If your whole thing is teasing, you're in trouble.
Right.
But someone said that, I saw a video recently, that the video was, the guy said, I'm trying to remember exactly what he said. He said, if I have never been a little bit mean to you, then I probably don't like you. That's what he said. It was a great video. He's like, I probably
Very
gotta
good.
be a little bit mean just for fun. Like I don't know the psychology behind that fully, but okay. So now
It's like the psychology would be, I don't have my mask, I don't have my guard up, so I'm not protected because I'm comfortable around you.
yeah.
So I can be difficult too.
Yeah, it could be a little difficult.
Yeah,
It's a
'cause
little
I'm-
tester, similar to coming late.
Or it's like I'm just being myself. I'm not on. It's like a person going into an interview. They're going to be their best self. Something happens. Like, oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. But then when you're like, buddy, what? That's my freaking pen you just stole, right? So when you're real, it's like I'm comfortable around you. I'm real. I don't mind being real with you.
I love it. I think it has something to do with the coming late, the women coming late
Yeah,
thing. It's
testing.
it's a little bit. It's a fascinating thing we say to our village guys. Like you're gonna test, and it's our job to accept and pass.
I believe
test.
that. I believe that.
And
with
we'll
children.
pass some of them.
Yeah.
And we won't pass all of them. But it's your job. Don't stop. So that's a cool thing. Okay, if you've seen that in my podcast, rooftop question. The rooftop question is, if you're yelling from the top of a rooftop, million people, what do you want to say to the world? What's your message to the world?
Life is so much better for you. There's so much more for your life. Do not give up on believing and accepting that this is life and it's going to be like this with the shame and the pain, and there's nothing to do about it. Nobody cares. That's not true. Somebody does care. You got to find that person. Ultimately, you do care, and you just have to believe that you have to experience someone else caring for you. But don't settle for an uncomfortable life. Life could be beautiful.
I love it. I love it.
It's true.
It's a lot of hope.
It's true.
We need hope. I really want to figure out how to. I need like a hope. The truth is, breath work. Maybe hope. Maybe breath work is a hope potion.
What do you mean? What are you saying?
I got to bring more breath work into our village. I know you've offered, and I never took you up on it. But some of my guys have gone. They go to Mayor K. Has done a bunch of ceremonies. A bunch of my guys do go, but I haven't like brought it in. We've done a lot of like interesting stuff, but we haven't brought that in. No, but like so many of the guys I deal with, they're just the hopeless feeling of like I've tried everything and nothing works. I don't have the energy to like even try anymore. Like
Right.
just take me. Like that's the feeling. Like
Right.
it's like
so sad.
it's
so
the saddest thing in the world.
I'm helping a woman who's, over 70, and she doesn't know what to do with herself. That she's struggling with one of her family members went off the derech in a way that she can't understand, and it's just beside her. One of her kids just went off the derech in a very, very deep way, and she just can't tell anybody. She's holding it in. She won't, and she feels no purpose in living.
Wow.
And it's like this guy, this woman has an accomplished life, and this thing is, it's triggering a deep wound of unworthiness.
Yeah.
That's where it is.
That's what it all
Unworthiness.
comes down to.
So right when people have struggle, it's like, someone was telling me that the Piaseczna Rebbe who died in the I think he died during in the war, but I think he may have died in the ghettos.
Oh, really?
And he buried all of his transcripts in.
Oh, I know about this.
Yeah, in a couple of milk containers, and years later, somebody found it, and it was sent to his brother in Eretz Yisrael. So in his diary, and a friend of mine is telling this to me, his diary, I use actually the Piaseczna as a niggin in one of my breathworks. It's just a beautiful niggin.
Oh, wow.
And in his diary, he writes how he lost his child, he lost his wife, he lost everybody, and he's screaming at Hashem, "What do you want from me? Right? What do you want from me?" And it's like, how do we deal with so much pain and so much, right? When people are experiencing these things, they want to give up because there is a tremendous amount of pain. How do you deal with that? And seeing the greats of our world, our role models, going through such hardship, and what is their response? number one is there's a firm belief that there is something or someone beyond this understanding, because I do not understand what's happening. It's painful. I'm not hiding from the pain, and I cannot live with the pain, but I'm not going to give up because there's a deep belief of I matter. It's a deep belief of I matter.
And then that is what gets us through, that belief. It's pretty wild to hear the Pias. That's not like crying out to Hashem
Right.
like that. Like,
Being
what
angry.
do you want?
Yeah. And the Rebbe Rebbe says about Mashiach, he says, demand from Hashem. You know, as opposed to just begging. No, demand. It's like, I've earned it. We've earned this. We've been through enough. It's a different, the relationship is, right? You talk about your friends, like if I haven't hurt you, it's like, we're not supposed to be just goodies to Hashem as if we're in a classroom.
Right.
It's like, no, I'm pissed. What the hell is going on? And having that, you know, sharing that with Hashem.
I remember I was in graduate school and they asked us, I was taking a class about spirituality and psychology, and which was a fascinating class. I don't remember what it's called, but that was the idea of it. And they asked in the beginning of the class, like, talk about your most spiritual experience you've ever had, like, or a very spiritual experience. And we all had to share. And what came to me is a time when I lost my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law passed away young, and I was very close with him. And I was in Israel because they buried him in Israel. And I went to the hotel and just yelled at God, just with a lot of like bad words and stuff like that. And
Right.
I think, and I felt like at that moment was the deepest level of belief I've ever had in God. Like that was the highest level of emunah I ever experienced, was when I actually was angry and I was like, I felt his presence right there. So that was like the highest level of spiritual experience I had, was when I was yelling. So
and who gave you permission to do that? Meaning, was there a part of you that thought that it was forbidden? Like what changed? Was it just a
it
natural?
just came out.
Natural.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know
The
that.
process. Because a lot of people won't do that because they think the results are bad. You're not allowed to do that.
And after that, I was like, I'm never gonna do this, Dama. Never. This is the last time.
That's it. I want to say this last
Okay,
thing.
talk to me.
When you say when you speak about the Piasetsna, you screaming out to Hashem, right? So for a person that's struggling, it's like we accept that I am okay, despite. I am okay, meaning it doesn't define me despite what's happening. And it's the self-worth, but accepting that despite everything that's happening, despite all the things that I've done, despite all the shame that I've accumulated, I'm okay. I accept that despite that, I'm still okay.
Yeah, it's a tall order, man. It's a tall order, and I listen. I'm really impressed with your own journey through this, and like the fact that you're like helping more and more people based on your own growth is like, it's pretty freaking inspiring. Anyway, thank you for coming, man. That was awesome. I have no idea how long we went, but it feels like I have to get back to work because my phone is buzzing off the hook. Thank you, brother. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for this day that I've been given. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this chance. Thank you for this chance to live anew.